Tell me there's something better. Go ahead, try. How I Spent My Summer Vacation by Peter Benjamin Parker. I can sum it up in one glorious, hyphenated word. Spider-Man. I am the spectacular Spider-Man!
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. I am starting the Roger Stern era, which will lead into eventually the black costume. But I've always had a soft spot for this era of Spider-Man. And although he did a fill-in issue about 10 issues before this, this is the first issue of what will become his run with John Romita Jr. So we're going to be looking at The Amazing Spider-Man 224 from 1981. The Vulture's back, deadlier than ever. I have been going and trying to complete this run. I actually have most of this run. I am missing a few issues here and there, but for the most part, I have the run in the original monthly titles. Although I have the Epic edition. And a couple of reprints here and there that had come out in the past. So, let fly these aged wings. Sorry about that. I missed the fly in there. So, good cover here. So, here we go. And so, Stan Lee presents the adventures of the world's most amazing heroes, Spider-Man. Let fly these aged wings. And so we're in the Peter lives in Manhattan and lives in the Chelsea area, and he's got an apartment there. So and Peter's on the phone with his Aunt May, and so he tells her that she's not interrupting, that he was getting a little exercise, and here he has his little fish bowl and his he's got one of these not self-lighting lamps, but one of these lamps he can use in the event of a power outage or whatever. And then of course he's using a corded phone because it is the early 80s. And so here we've got a Sign of the Times, LPs, we got some books, and we've got a I called them boom boxes. There's just a radio, and here we have our credits. Roger Stern will become the main writer, and he's going to write the title for about 3 years, and he's taking over from Denny O'Neil. I did not cover the Denny O'Neil era, although there's a couple of issues that I really enjoyed from that era that I had growing up. For the most part, the Roger Stern era is really where Spider-Man sort of morphs into this beloved character that we all love. And so, all right, and Tom DeFalco, who is who ended up becoming editor-in-chief, he's actually the one that replaces Jim Shooter, was the editor of the Spider-Man series. And you see here that John Romita Jr. is the penciler, and you can see that he's not quite that John Romita Jr. that we're used to. And this is he takes Spider-Man before then taking X-Men, so this is kind of his welcome. He'd been doing Iron Man and a couple fill-in issues here and there, and then Spider-Man is where he really cut his teeth, and then from there he goes to X-Men, then Daredevil. I think he went back to Iron Man, and I don't remember. So, all right. So, as I mentioned before, he's on the phone with Aunt May, And as you can see, he's very happy to hear from her. And so she's glad to hear that Peter is keeping in shape and that her fiance was Nathan. Oh my gosh, I forgot his last name. Lubinsky, I think it is. Real quick before I keep moving on, the way Aunt May is portrayed as this elderly grandmother, like I never liked it. I really did like when JMS Straczynski is who I refer to as JMS. Kind of not really de-aged her, but just made her more less old, I guess. I mean, she's just since Stanley created her all through the 80s, they drew this elderly woman, and I've always thought Aunt May is um not as old as she would have been portrayed. Remember, she is the wife of Ben Parker, who was the older brother. I doubt that they were, 30 years ahead of time, although that generation did have uh, children. They started out they started out banging kids young, so perhaps, but I doubt that she was, old enough to be Peter's uh, grandmother. So anyway, and Peter asks how Nathan is doing, and Aunt May tells him that he's in physical therapy. And so, sorry, and she's gonna invite Peter over for dinner here. So after ending the call, Peter is happy that Aunt May is doing better. She had, I believe, a heart attack and a stroke in prior issues. And so he decides he's gonna go out, kind of do get a little advice, and he's gonna go out web slinging, enjoying. He doesn't have classes. He's at Empire State University, and so he's going to go here. So he jumps up in the bathroom. He's got like a skylight, and that's able to get him out and about into the real world. So, of course, as soon as he gets out there, his spider sense starts to go, and he sees this robbery taking place. And so, of course, they're going to try to make their escape, and they press on it, and they're like, we're not going anywhere. And, of course, Spider-Man webbed them, and so I like that you can see the through the mask. Oh my God, freaked out here. And so Spider-Man's gonna make a little bit of quick work out of the robbers here, and this guy's gonna try to get away, and Spider-Man catches it. You can see this money kind of going out. These people would definitely take it. So and so he grabs the guy and gets him ready, and the police have arrived, and Spider-Man is going to take off. And of course, he had his little camera ready to go so that he can sell the pictures to Jonah Jameson. And Peter here says, and if I'm lucky, maybe my favorite newspaper publisher, J. Jonah Jameson, will even pay me half of what they're worth. The tightwad. So, and so at Bellevue Hospital, we have the Vulture, who's been recovering from his beating at the hands of Spider-Man. And he's got an armed guard here with him. And they're like, well, you're doing much better. And he says, well, don't go thinking you're too resilient, because as soon as the docs give you a clean bill of health, some gentleman will be by to conduct you to one of the federal government's finer prisons. I don't know how many years they got you for, but at your age, a year could be a life sentence, of course, because the Vulture is supposed to be quite old. And I actually don't have a problem with the Vulture being old, because it actually fits his character. So unlike Aunt May being looked like, an 80-year-old woman, I don't mind the Vulture looking that old. So, and so the policeman takes him to go to his physical therapy, and he kind of says, "Watch out for him. He's a purely dangerous criminal. He's liable to beat you to death with his cane." And so he then starts to laugh, and so they take him in to begin his physical therapy. And so they tell him about some of the latest stuff that they have, but to excuse the mess because they're getting some new equipment here. And he says, "We're a little short-handed today. Why don't you take a seat while I look up your records?" And so he takes a seat here, and we have Nathan here, Aunt May's boyfriend, who's made to look as old as she is. So the two meet, and he says, "Have a seat." And of course, the orderly's beeper goes off here. And so the Vulture's feeling pretty bad. He feels more his age than ever before. And so Nathan gives him, he doesn't know that he's the Vulture. So he's like, "Don't hand me that horse hockey. You're alive, aren't you? If a man's alive, he's never useless. You have at least one friend, me." And so he gets up here, says, "I believe I've been in this poor man's hot tub long enough." And Vulture says, "Can I give you a hand?" And he says, "Thanks, but I can do this myself. Doesn't matter how old the body is. You got to stand on your own 2 feet there." So, or in my case, sit on my own behind. He's in a wheelchair. Says he's got a couple of broken legs a while back, but didn't mend, and so he uses the wheelchair to get around. He hopes to be able to walk again, and he lives in a nursing home. So the nurse comes in and is like, "You should have waited." And of course, Nathan's like, uh, he really didn't have to, and he's like, "Well, what are you waiting for? Take me to where you put my pants. There's a lady expecting me." And so he's like, "Whatever you say, sir. And don't patronize me. I may be great, but I'm more alive than you'll ever be." And he says, "You're only as old as you feel, you know?" And of course, the Vulture's like, he's right. And he tosses the cane away here. And he's like, "Right now, I want to look at the innards of this contraption." So, of course, we know that he is about to turn into the Vulture. I do not know how he flies with no actual things in there, but we are going to assume that it is some kind of machinery that allows him to. And he says, "I thank you for taking your time, youngster. You were gone just long enough for me to jury rig a flying device from that machine. Now get out of the way," as he kicks him through, and he busts out through the window. Here says, "I want to be free. I want to live." And he says, "Yes, this is the way it was meant to be. Once I'm safely away, I'll make myself a real pair of wings, and then I'll set this town on its ear. I'll show them that there's life in the Vulture yet, and no one's going to stop me, not even that infernal Spider-Man." So Peter's at the Daily Bugle here, and he's in the dark room getting those pictures ready, but someone opens the door or turns on a window, and open the door, which of course lets light in, and it's Jonah here. And he says, "Would you care to phrase that question, Parker? I'm not keen on having my freelance employees call me names less respectful than sir. Right, Bannon?" He's like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Jameson." And so Peter's like, "Oh, sorry." And then he's like, "Darn it, isn't it still customary to keep this newspaper, to keep the darkroom door shut when the warning light tells you that someone's developing pictures?" And he's like, "What warning light?" As he presses to it, he's like, well, the boss man is right, Petey. It's not lit. Are you sure you flipped the switch? Wait, I bet I know what the problem is." And he hits it. He goes, "Aha, a short in the light. Gee, bad break, Petey." So his pictures are ruined. And so A similar thing happened to me once. That's why I always check things out first. I hope you'll pardon me. I have some film to develop myself. And so, wouldn't you know it, for him, the light stays on. So Jonah says, you could stand to take a few tips from Lance Bannon, Parker. He's a real photographer, as in full time. He's lucky. Um, Jonah continues and says, he's a lucky one, too. He was in the Metro branch on 3rd Avenue an hour ago when it was held up. He tells me he got some great pics, which is, of course, what Peter has. What? That's a robbery I snapped pictures of. Spider-Man showed up and stopped the hold-up men. That's something else you could learn, Parker. How many times do I have to tell you, spell it out? I'm sick of giving free publicity to that wall-crawling glory hound. You won't catch Bannon trying to sell me pictures I don't want. And so Robbie comes running and says, Jonah, there's trouble brewing. I think we should ready the presses for an extra edition. And he's like, Peter's wondering what's got him so excited. And he says it's the Vulture. It broke out of prison. And he's like, now that he's ruined his pictures, he thinks now he can get some by having Spider-Man fighting the Vulture. And so the next day, though, so a day has passed between this panel and this panel here. We're in the Diamond District in Manhattan here, and you see someone here says, Moshe, please be careful. And so it's two Orthodox Jews robbing a jewelry store. And of course, behind them is the Vulture, who's actually going to rob them. So he's got himself his new costume. They put the jewelry in there, and he splits. And so he's robbing all these places. You can see that he has his fervor for life again here. So Spider-Man's been looking for him, so he's trying to pick up the trail. But it says here he's continuing. So Spider-Man is 2 steps behind him here. And so the Vulture says the pickings are getting slim. He should move to another town. He's like, the rain's getting heavy as well. I might have to call it a day. I may be stronger than men half my age, but there's no sense in risking a case of pneumonia. That's not really how pneumonia works. But anyway, he goes into his apartment and puts the loot in this chest here, and is going to change into some clothes. And he's like, I've amassed a small fortune in days. Not bad for an old bird. And here's someone, if here off panel, there's a knock. Hello, anyone home? And person says, I thought I heard you kicking around here. You ready to go? And he says, indeed I am, my friend. I'm quite eager to learn this little game of yours. And so now we're back to Spider-Man as he's swinging through here. Nice little panel. I grew up with the Todd McFarlane era, so I have a hard time with some things prior to Ron Friends. I think Ron Friends did a great job. I'm not a big fan of early John Romita Jr. I do like late John Romita Jr., but early John Romita Jr. just kind of, it's serviceable. Very house style back that he drew back then. So Spider-Man is gonna kind of give up on the chase here. I like this panel here as he's bouncing around, and he says here, might as well give up the search for now and head home. I have just enough time for a nice hot shower before I pick up Aunt May and Nathan for dinner. And so he takes the bus here, and they're going into the nursing home, and Aunt May is sitting there. And he says, excuse me, miss, are you one of the finalists for the Miss Universe pageant or last year's winner? Of course, he always hits on his aunt, makes her feel good here. And again, she's just drawn so old. My goodness gracious. And so she hugs, and I thought the weather would keep him away. And so then he asks about Nathan, and she says he's still in the rec room at the poker table, and says, "Why don't you get him while I collect my things?" says Aunt May. And so Peter's gonna go in there and says hello. And as he's walking through, his spider sense is tingling as Nathan is about to introduce his new friend, which of course we all know happens to be the Vulture. So they shake hands. You can see the spider sense is is swinging, and of course he recognizes, or he says, a photographer, because Nathan introduced him. He must have recognized me, and so he takes out the gun, and he's like, "Hey, don't do anything that would ruin his cover here, of course." And so Peter's like, "I could disarm the Vulture easily enough, but Nathan, the others might get hurt in the process." And um, so the Vulture kind of says, "Hey, come take my picture." And he's like, "We won't be long." And then he goes through and hits him in the back of the head instead of killing him. It's just kind of funny, these super villains here. And puts him down here. And so he ties him up and changes into the Vulture. And here comes Aunt May asking if Peter was with him. He says, "Oh, he didn't stay too long." And so he had something important to do. So he hightailed out of here. And so he was going to take a nap. And then, of course, she's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Peter left." And so he turns around. Peter's gone. And there is Spider-Man, if you think he would figure it out. But he doesn't, because, hey. And he's like, "Spider-Man, how?" And so they're going to tussle here. And in the nursing home, I'm telling you, McFarlane did so many things that I don't know how to describe how important Todd McFarlane is for Spider-Man. I know he built up on things like Ron Friends. I think Ron Friends was very good, but man, McFarlane did things that are still duplicated to this day, more than 40 years since. So the two continue fighting, and he says, "Ready to call it quits, Vulture?" And of course, he throws this TV at him and says, "Never, I'll never surrender to you." Now, real quick, these TVs were extremely heavy, so he's very strong. And so Spider-Man is able to deflect it, and then he grabs Nathan here, and Spider-Man's like, "Good grief, he's got Nathan by the throat. I can't let him harm Nate, but I can't let him get away either." And he's like, "You hesitate, Spider-Man. Don't tell me that your legendary wit has run dry, or is it that you just don't want an old man's blood in your hands?" And so Nathan is struggling here, and he just realized that he had grabbed him. And Aunt May comes, and he Toombs lets him go and pushes him out. Spider-Man catches him, and Toombs goes out. He says, there will be other battles, Spider-Man. This isn't over yet here." And of course, all the people are thankful that he saved them. And Spider-Man is going to see if he is able to get them. And you can see Nathan is like, "Shoot, it was nothing. I ever tell you about the time the cops in St. Joe raided my poker game here?" And of course, Peter comes through, and he's like, "Hey, I wasn't really gone, but Spider-Man helped me." And Aunt May's so happy that she didn't leave for them. And he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna grab some dinner or not? We're starved." And she's like, "I can't believe this. You live for your stomach." And Peter kind of smiles and says, "Aunt May, Nate probably has the right idea. We ought to enjoy life more." And of course, we end here. We never know when someone like the Vulture could come along and put an end to it. The next issue, fools like us. So, pretty good. This, as I mentioned, was Roger Stern's first issue, and he's going to have a bit of a lengthy run. So, I like it. So, hopefully we'll be able to cover it. So, Amazing Spider-Man 224 by Roger Stern and John Romita Jr. Like and subscribe, and I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.